Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
And I'm Shelly Walters at the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker.
And it's election day, and we have Mayor Chris Jensen with us.
Appropriate on election day to have an elected official, right?
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Especially one that's happy because he's not on the ballot today.
Yeah.
I bet.
Let's see if we're on here in 2 years.
Yeah, then I won't be. I'll be stroking out somewhere. You know what I mean?
You'll be like shaking hands and kissing
Yes.
babies.
Yeah, I don't have time. If you can't vote for me, I'm not talking to you. Just kidding.
I have a buddy, his dad did like 10 terms as like a state rep, right? So like 20 years. And he was like, I was 24 before I watched a parade before I was, because he was in the parades. Yeah. And he's like, I hate parades.
You kind of ruined it for him, you know? Exactly right.
But I bet you get to do that. You get to sit on the back of the old
A lot of
cars.
parades. Yeah, my kids are really good at going in every parade, and we wave and we say Merry Christmas. Or
do you throw candy?
We throw. Well, in Noblesville, we have to pass out candy because we don't want kids running into the streets. So, So there's that whole legality.
Yeah,
thing,
how did our children?
I know. I'm not sure how we survived.
Yeah,
right?
You know what I mean?
How many kids have been ran over in a parade?
Well, you know what? One would be too many, Kyle. One would be too many. So it's not happening on my watch.
I have a politician on the podcast.
Right.
So, I was just wanting to play with that a little bit, and you're like, no, one is too many.
Shut it down.
I'm like, sometimes, like, what if that was just natural selection?
Yeah,
but
well,
we can't look at it.
We're not going to go down that rabbit hole today.
Anyways, I don't know. I really appreciate you being on here today. Shelly and I were even like, is he going to be on today?
Yeah, I know. I thought you would not be available. I think you'd be busy going around and just, helping out all your friends.
I have a lot of friends that are doing it today, and I'm a political junkie. I love politics, and so I love today. It's like the Super Bowl, but I need, you're not going to know anything until tonight, so I need things to keep me busy. So I'd much rather come talk about my favorite subject, which is Noblesville, Indiana. You guys. Yeah. So,
well, and I love your state of address that you had, and one of the things I really wanted to talk to you guys about and get this out to all the realtors is the Make My Move program. So if you have an elevator speech or anything like that, it's just something I don't think a lot of people know about.
Yeah, so well, first of all, thanks for coming to the State of the City speech. And if anyone has missed it, you can find it online too and rewatch it.
I highly recommend it. It was really good.
Thanks. It's something that every mayor does, and every mayor does it differently. And in Noblesville, we've tried to shift it up a little bit. This year, we did it at Ruoff.
Yeah, nobody does that.
No one does that. And
you only can, right? You're not going to let somebody else come to
heck no, you're not. And so I got to do it on the stage at Ruoff, which was incredible.
It was good.
And had that as a backdrop, which was amazing. I felt like a rock. It's probably my only time I'll ever perform on stage at Ruoff, right? So it's pretty cool. But until next year, yeah. So we have to highlight all the good things. But I think thanks for the question on Make My Move, because I think in particular for this industry, it's an important feature and tool that you guys can use as you look at out-of-state folks looking to relocate to Indiana.
Do they have to be out of state?
So it's out of state.
Okay.
Out of state movers that are coming to Indiana. And the goal here is one of the biggest existential threats the entire state of Indiana faces is population growth. Yep. We have got to grow as a state if we want to continue to compete as a state. Now, we've been lucky the last couple of years. We're one of the only states in the Midwest that is increasing population. But as you guys know, because you're on the front lines, we have to do that increase in population without a mountain range and without a ocean and with sometimes sucky winters. So we have some headwinds against us. So this program really came out of post-COVID era. There's a group of individuals who actually I used to work with years ago under the Mitch Daniels administration when Mitch was governor of Indiana. They formed this organization called Make My Move. And what it does is they work with communities all across the country to incentivize remote workers to come to communities. And really during COVID, we saw many coastal residents kind of reevaluate a lot of people reevaluate their life, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We all probably did. There were a lot of folks that were living on the coast, maybe away from mom and dad or maybe away from grandkids. And we're like, you know what? We need to get back home. And where is home? And oftentimes the Midwest is home. And they also realized they were making great dollars, working in these coastal communities. They were paying outrageous rents or mortgage rates in the Californias or New Yorks of the world. And they were also working from home. And so they're like, why are we doing this? And so we put together a package, and what it is, first of all, I want to point out this is a very well vetted program. So there are quite a bit of stipulations on it. You have to make, on average, $80,000 in your job. You have to be able to bring your remote job with you. To Indiana or to Noblesville. We'll go through your tax forms, and it's not. And the reason I point that out is because I think there's been some misconceptions about the program that we're out just handing out checks to anyone who wants to come to Noblesville. It's not. It's a well-vetted program. And so what you do is you can go on and apply, and you can apply to relocate to Noblesville. And if you meet the classifications and you meet the income requirements, et cetera, we'll give you basically a $15,000 package to relocate to Noblesville. Now, $5,000 of that is cash incentives, $2,500 up front for moving expenses to come to Noblesville. Once you stay a year, you get the additional $2,500. And then there's a $10,000 basically incentive package that includes a golf membership, for example, to our local golf courses. There's a few concerts tickets that are thrown in there. There's
Did
lunch.
you throw in Taylor?
No, that one was not thrown in there. That would have skewed the scales big time. There's lunch with the mayor, for example. There's a chamber membership, those type of things that are involved in that. And again, the idea is to incentivize working professionals, high wage professionals, to come call Noblesville home. And we've seen just a tremendous benefit of this program going forward. And it's been neat because it's not just Noblesville. There are places all across the country that are doing this. And one example I always use, not to tout another community, but Greensburg, Indiana. If you've ever been to Greensburg, it's home to Honda. It's a very rural part of the state, kind of near Cincinnati.
Yeah, southeast.
They need to attract younger families to come back to those rural communities. And so there's actually a group of senior citizens that got together. Part of their relocation package for any families that came in there were like a certain number of hours of babysitting that these people in the community would offer up to those families. So it's been neat to watch communities get creative on these incentives.
Any others besides you in Greensburg?
So there's quite a few in the state. I'd have to pull it up, but there's probably at least a dozen cities in the state of Indiana that are doing it. We've been pretty vocal about why we're doing it. I think the data backs up the investment that we're making. And the great thing is the state is coming alongside us. The Indiana Economic Development Corporation is putting some dollars to incentivize us to do programs like this too.
Well, one of the hardest things about Indy in particular is that for years, we would educate and train and grow our children, right?
Like
our young adults, and they go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then they do want to come back home.
Yeah.
And now I think there's more of a trend of like just never wanting to leave. Yeah. And one of the things when we had Mayor Finkham on, it's like they can't live here, right?
Yeah.
And so there are communities that you can do that in. Noblesville's amazing. I mean, there's just plenty of opportunity for it, and nobody else is really taking it. I mean, 12, right? But like when we have 92, 96 counties.
92 counties.
92 counties. Yeah. Like 12 is nothing.
It's a great, like I said, and I will just to go over some quick numbers with you because I think it tells the story. And I want to make it clear, we've put a cap on. We've done about 30 individuals per year, so this isn't just a big open the floodgates. It's been a very strategic, thought out process. Yeah. So in 2 years alone, we've had 73 new households come to Noblesville, which equates to about 187 new residents. The average income of those coming about $145,000 coming to our community. 22 single people, 106 married couples, 59 kids, 24 home buyers with an average purchase price of $477,000. That speaks right to your industry, the importance of that. 49 renters with an average lease of about $1,700. We've had about $1.3 million or 1.3 million impressions on social media. We've had 7,400 applicants who've met our eligibility criteria. And then the estimated annual economic impact of just those who have moved in the past 2 years. So annually, we estimate $7.1 million to the community of economic impact. That's in new tax revenue. That's in new spending revenue. So again, there is some upfront cost for us to put those incentives out there.
Yeah, but the ROI is worth it.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And I will say the ROI financially is worth it. And then I'll tell a story about a few months ago, we had a national night out, which is where all of our police and fires come out. You guys
in August.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And we invite the community to come out to get to know firefighters and police officers, climb through our fire trucks and whatnot. And I stopped over there one night. It was at Ivy Tech in Noblesville. And I could see out of the corner of my eye a family, and they were pointing at me. And they were walking towards me, which usually is never a good thing.
You're probably like,
I'm like, oh God. They live on like a street where there's a massive pothole or something. And they're walking towards me. I was talking, and so they finally got my attention. They asked if I was the mayor. I said I was. And they just lit up, and they said they had just moved to Noblesville 2 weeks ago from Miami, Florida.
Wow.
And you can appreciate my first question, right, is like,
why?
Why? I mean, like, in all due respect, like, I love Noblesville, but walk me through your thought process here. And they said that they took advantage of the Make My Move program. They owned their own business. They worked it out of their home in Miami. And they had 2 young kids. They loved Miami when they were young singles.
Yeah.
And then they had 2 kids that were getting in school, and it just was a different environment. And they said they felt like they had just hit the jackpot to move to Hamilton County, Indiana. They said the fact that we're talking to the mayor right now at a community event is
good luck doing that in Miami.
Yeah, exactly right. They said their two young boys went to Stony Creek Elementary in Noblesville, and they said day one they came home and they were so excited they did not get bullied.
Oh,
wow.
And they almost had like tears in their eyes telling me that. And I was like, this is why. So not only is it economically smart, but it's
You're
a great
helping
opportunity
people.
to get the great people exposure and give them maybe a hand up to get them here.
And they know other business owners that they
And they're bringing their business, right? They're
some-
bringing their business, and that's again, remove emotion. They're bringing their business to Noblesville.
And do they tell their friends who
Absolutely
work with them?
they are.
So then you've
got
repeats.
You have steady streams, and so you're not just bringing the worker, you're bringing their family, you're bringing their family's friends. You get some young grandkids. Or young kids. You know what that brings? Grandparents.
Yeah.
And so they're moving the needle on our economy in Central Indiana. They're growing our population.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for you to see of those 73 households what they brought in.
Yes.
Like, did they double it?
Yeah, exactly.
One per person or even one per every other person.
And again, some of them, as you guys know, some are going to rent. That's their gateway into the market. That's where they need to figure that out. But quite a few are going to buy. And those housing statistics, that tells a pretty good story for all of us. And all of our fates, whether it's the real estate market or any of our communities markets, are dependent upon good people wanting to move to Central Indiana to Indiana.
Yeah.
Do you have a time limit on they have to stay in the house, or do they have to pay anything back?
So they have to at least be here. I think it's 3 to 4 years. I think there's some parameters around that they get. But we've found as soon as they get here,
they're going to stay.
They're pretty happy.
Yeah. So here's my question to this, right? Because like all of this makes sense to me, but I get to hear all the bad stuff too, right? So what do you deal with your constituents who are like, we don't want Noblesville to grow, and it's getting too expensive, and like, where I'm from, Martinsville, like they wanted to fight the highway and all this stuff. And, I would just tell, it'd be like a lot of my dad's friends, and I'd be like, progress waits for nobody, just so you know.
Well, any community, any state, any company, any organization, you're either growing or dying in life.
100%.
That's the way it is. And I respect it. I've lived in Noblesville my entire life. I know your wife, who's a longtime Noblesville person. Yeah. I have a lot of opinions about how I grew up, But at the same time, I always tell people, first of all, it doesn't matter whether Mickey Mouse, Jesus Christ, or Chris Jensen are mayor of Noblesville. It's going to grow.
Yes.
Period. Yes. It's going to grow. So you'd rather have somebody with a plan, and maybe that's somebody who understands and loves Noblesville to be in charge of that growth. And then we have to grow in order to sustain ourselves going forward. And change is hard. Change is hard for everybody. But we're a city of people who've moved here for the first time. You know what I mean? It can't just be, well, I want to move to Noblesville, but then shut the gates afterwards. It's just not the way it works.
Right. Why do you get to come?
It's not the way it works. And I hear about all the time with new residential housing developments. They say, well, we love that, that cornfield in our backyard. Well, first of all, that's not your cornfield. Secondly, your neighborhood was a cornfield as well. Yeah. And so, we're going to work together to carefully lay this out, but Noblesville's going to grow. Noblesville's going to change. And quite frankly, I do it because I want my kids to stay here long term, and I have to make sure they have opportunities going forward. And so we're going to have to continue to invest in that for the future.
It's all fear-based, right?
Yep. The unknown, right?
Yeah, and people are
right here. That's perfect. I mean, on election day, how there's no truer statement. Correct. Fear of the unknown. Yes. And election day is a good example of that.
Yeah, because no matter, especially this one, like we do not have an incumbent
president. Yeah, we will have a new president. We'll have
on
January 20th. Period.
100%. And a lot of this election cycle has been based around fear, right? And so it's just really interesting that people are like, well, like my buddy owns the tire store. Like, well, it's gonna sink if we don't bring more people in, right? And then it's like, well, what if it gets bought out? Well, unless his kids want to run it, it's going to
He has that choice to do that. That's what we always say with some new development, which we can talk about here in a minute too. There's like, oh, but what about the farmers? I'm like, well, the farmers willingly sold their property, probably for a good price. I trust the farmers to know what that.
I come from a farming family. They work tirelessly, and I'm assuming after about 40 years,
but they
want to
sell that.
They make some good money. Yes. They're like, I'm out.
Yeah, they want to do that, and so we applaud. That's the American dream, right? We're a free market society.
Yeah. So you want better for your children.
You do.
All this stuff. But and so ag in particular is really interesting because there has been farms in our communities that are like 6 generations deep and all of this stuff, and they've been profitable at times and not at times, but it is a very hard life. And so recently, I would say in the past 40 years, it's been like, I want something different for my kids.
Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden, the kids don't want to take over the family farm. And it's like, where else is it going to go?
Yeah.
Because nobody else wants to step in and do it, unfortunately. That's just the reality.
Well, the lesson is, right, it could be 6 generations, but the 7th is never guaranteed.
Correct.
You know, and quite frankly, you know, if you look at and this is a whole philosophical conversation, but that 7th generation may want to take that asset and go invest it in some other opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, they may want to be able to inherit that land value or whatever that may be, that inheritance, and go invest in what they want to invest with and start a new generational business opportunity. And that's
always,
okay.
There's always this thought of it's going to take away. Like, what if they went and started like a General Mills?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't then, right? Like, but it's just everybody's afraid of change and all this stuff. I know what Noblesville used to look like to what it is today.
Yeah, I was saying that I lived there in like 89, 90.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, 146 was a 2-lane road, you know.
I have pictures. So I just took pictures when Fisher's was like 3,000 people or whatever of 146th Street and all the cornfields and all that stuff.
I'm betting
I
it
feel
was
like
not
I'm 90.
on an iPhone, that photo.
No, it was not. I probably can't find them, but
It was a drawing.
you know, I feel really old to be saying that, but it hasn't been that far back.
It hasn't.
That I mean, yeah, it's been a fast growth, but
When was 146 redone? 15,
90s.
20
years ago.
Yeah, it was in the 2000s, but it was early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s probably.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because we moved there,
And you're
on
seeing
that
it. You're
street.
seeing it being redone now with the roundabout at Allisonville, for example. And those
Yeah.
roundabouts, it's going to be at Hazeldale then and Gray. They're going to make their way down to make it more free flowing. So
Yeah, the
when
one
we moved up, I mean, we graduated in 0102, and we would go up to, we lived over off of like 79th and Harcourt, and we would go up to my in-laws in Oak Bay.
Yep.
And 146 was still a 2-lane road
Yep.
at that time.
Yep.
Well,
So
it was pitch dark from Allisonville Road from 86th Street
Oh,
to
did it?
Noblesville. Like if you were going to your friend's house, which I was doing in Noblesville, close to there, it was pitch black. All of Allisonville
Yep.
Road.
Oh, there was then an exit from, it was like McDonald's at 96th Street, Deer Creek, and then Pine Lakes.
Yep.
Like that
Yep.
was it. That's what
Yeah.
you had, you know.
Well, I was always seeing when they did the 146th Street roundabout there that's going on at Allisonville. When I was living in Wellington North in Noblesville, they built on the northwest corner 2 or 3 houses, I can't remember how many, like really close to the street right there on the corner. And I'm like, who would want to be there? And why did they plop themselves right there? And those are the ones that were just torn down
Yep.
because they
Yep.
didn't make it there very long. But I thought, that's a weird place to build a house.
Well, people want it to stay small because they don't want to lose that feel.
Sure.
But there is a way to sustain that feel. That's a cultural thing, right? Because there's plenty. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are of how much Noblesville is going from 2000 to 2000 or 2024. But it still feels the same in my opinion, right? 24 years later, I think that's a testament to you and the people who preceded
that's been
you.
the hardest job right there. Is that, you know, yes, we are the 9th largest city in the state of Indiana, but I do feel like we feel like a hometown. still.
100%.
And we've
I
worked
think
really
so, for
hard at
sure.
that. You know, we've tried to brand ourselves now around being Indiana's hometown.
Yeah.
You know, and yes, with 75,000 people, you're still a few degrees of separation from somebody else. You know, I was joking, say, you know, don't talk crap about me because you probably told my second cousin at the movie shop. I will hear about it. It still has that hometown feel. We still have the homecoming parade and Friday night lights, and you know, I mean, it still feels like your hometown.
And your square has
Yeah.
been redeveloped or revamped, and
Yeah.
you haven't torn everything down.
No, and honestly,
you know?
we've done all the development in downtown. That's probably a good segue to talk about that. We've done all the development in downtown without touching any historic buildings.
I love it. I
You know,
love
we've
the square.
simply built some new opportunities on existing parking lots in downtown, which I would say, and around here, we're in Carmel, Indiana right now. I can tell you, parking lots are a pretty bad value in
Right.
an urban core.
Yeah.
And even our architecture of some of our new buildings downtown looks drastically different than architecture maybe across the river, for example. It's aesthetically matching the historic downtown, and you're that's done intentionally.
Yeah.
To keep it that way.
I love history and I love old buildings, and
Yeah.
that's what I really love about Noblesville. You didn't lose the feel.
No.
You have the luxury of being the county seat.
Yep.
You have the town square, which is, I mean, that adds to that. So Martinsville is the same way, right? Is the town seat or is the county seat for Morgan County? Even though like Mooresville was closer to Indy and all that stuff, like so I had that small town feel. And it matters. Like it just matters. Like Christmas time, driving through the square with the snow and the lights up. I think people are afraid about pricing because the house they bought for $150 or $95 is now $350, and so I can't move. But they never want to take a look at like how much money they have in this house all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But that's not a Noblesville problem.
No.
That's a national problem.
It's a national problem.
That has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with progress. That has to do with our economy. That has to do with supply and demand. And it has nothing to do with like a BJ's came in.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Well, and that's, there's a lot of folks that the housing, and you guys get it right now the most. I mean, the pricing of housing is incredible, what we've seen the last couple of years.
Yes.
And I think we'll see some resets a little bit. I don't think we'll ever get back to where we were, but I think
we are right now. I think in the
starting to
spring
see it.
it'll kind of go back up a little bit, but I think we'll stay here for a little while.
It's going to ebb and flow, but to your point, Kyle, it's all proportional, right? And
Yeah.
so the house that you bought for $150,000, the equity that you have in that now, if you were to sell, think about what you have then to put down in a newer home. So you have to switch your frame of mind a little bit, but that's not a government challenge. I don't think government is going to be the answer
It's
to
not
that
your
problem.
fault.
It's not, but I think every
people
one of
think
us,
it is, right?
every one of us are struggling with that conversation. Because like, short of us subsidizing your home price, what does government do? And I believe my personal philosophy is less government intervention is better.
Yeah.
In Noblesville, we already have the biggest amount of government subsidized housing for the entire county is in Noblesville. So we're already doing our part. We're just going to have to let this play out a little bit and let the free market, and we can work with supply and demand.
Yeah.
We have certainly pushed through some major housing permits and some new developments that we're moving forward with to add to the supply. But again, the free market's going to take care of itself.
What are some of the new developments you have coming on?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So we have, I will tell one we just announced recently up near your in-laws' former place, up at Morris. Morris Reservoir is really one of our hidden gems in Noblesville.
Yes.
It is a great asset up there. I have a boat.
No
on the
offense,
lake.
guys. It's better than
Morris
is better.
I don't
than
know
Geist.
anyone who would argue with me on that one.
It's
but
the better lake. It's just that Geist has newer homes.
Yeah.
But that's what's cool about Morris is it's like these 70s homes
Yeah.
that have been like remodeled.
Yeah, I
and
love
all
it.
this stuff. And it's just like it's a cleaner lake.
Yeah. so for a
I love
long
Geist,
time, there
but
hasn't
Morris
been a
is
lot of
better.
development in there. So we just announced about a month ago a project called Morris Village, and it's a huge master planned development that had really fit into three sections. One is going to be a semi-custom single-family neighborhood, which should speak right to your guys' love language. And quite frankly, that semi-custom market is something that we needed in Noblesville. If you look at the housing demographics across all of Hamilton County, we tend to be on the lower of the big four when it comes to that. And so we needed to push that needle up there, and it made a lot of sense being near Morris Reservoir, right?
Okay.
That's a huge asset. So there'll be a semi-custom home.
Do we know who that builder is yet?
I think they're working through that right now.
Like I have a semi-custom. I have Fisher.
Yep.
Right. And like so, semi-custom is actually a dwindling market right now because cost of everything.
Yeah.
You start putting in change orders.
Yep.
You can't order things in as large of bulks. The pricing isn't as good, and so the profit margin is less, and with the cost of everything, and then you end up having to charge too much. But there's just not a huge. Who else? Dries does semi-custom. David Weekly does semi-custom. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I don't know, but there could be a new one altogether. I mean, we've had a couple pop in lately
We
that
have.
were brand new.
We have.
But I think all the names you just mentioned are all in the mix right now in that conversation. So that'll be a section of it. Then there'll be a northern section up near Wolfie's that will be much more kind of like almost a Village of West Clay feel to it.
Yeah.
We'll have some retail along that Hague Road corridor by Wolfie's, and then internal you're going to have some. What do you call them? Shotgun homes? Is that what you kind of call them? With the garages in the back and some higher end mixed use development, residential retail along there. And then adjacent to the lake over by the levee, there's going to be some condos and townhomes for purchase that will have
Over by
lake
the park?
views. No, it'll be actually on the west side of Hague Road at 206th Street.
Okay.
Kind of overlooking Party Cove, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's really, really exciting. And
That roundabout's gonna get hammered right there.
well, we're going to add we're going to put a new roundabout there at 206 in Hague too to help with that.
Did you
as
hear
well.
that?
Yes.
Another one coming.
Another one coming at 206 in Hague Road. So that's a new development, which is a lot of people very excited.
How many homes or how many sites?
That's
All
a
three?
great question. I want to say upwards of about 670-ish, all included, and that's with the townhomes, the condos, and all those included in there.
So what I really heard is I need to start a business and buy some land there to store boats, and winterize boats, and I'll be a millionaire in a decade.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. I heard a business opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what the growth is about.
Yeah.
You bring business opportunities.
Exactly. And so, and there's a lot of folks up there around the reservoir that have some opinions about that project, as always.
Change.
Change. They all live in homes that were once not homes, so we're working through that, but we're really excited about that opportunity. And again, to get people to get them closer. And honestly, when it comes, a lot of these houses that we're developing now are designed for those that do live on the lake right now, and the harbors, for example, that have lived there for 30 or 40 years, that are empty nester baby boomers. We need them to get out of those homes.
Yeah, somebody needs to get
out.
I'm
sure they want to get out of them too. They're big homes. I used to live in North Harbor as well, and I remember when drive into North Harbor, there were no homes up front. And there was none. I mean, it was just
That's where I want to go.
Every time,
Oak Bay. I mean, there's somebody sitting in a home right now that's just holding on to my house till I.
But we need them. We need them to get out of there so younger families can get in and populate them. But a lot of them, one of my biggest frustrations the past 5 years is we've had a lot of these folks that have retired off the lake. They still want a custom, semi-custom, higher-end condo, smaller home, and they can't find it in Noblesville.
Well, that's
so
what I
where
was
are they
going?
Going? They're going to Bridgewater. They're going to Chatham Hills. They're going to Holiday Farms, and it pisses me off as a mayor that I'm losing great people to other communities. I want to keep them there.
Yeah, you need the
so
buy down.
This is that transition plan for them. So that's what we're really aiming at.
Yeah, senior housing, not that everybody's seniors, but that type of housing is very well in demand. I mean, look what Epcon's done. They just grew like crazy. They didn't expect that at all.
Epcon's getting ready to open get ready to break ground on a new project in Noblesville on the Hazelville corridor. So I went over and toured Epcon's project right here at Keystone and
136.
That's
where I live.
Oh, do you really? It's incredible over there, by the way.
I could talk to you about that neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they
that's what we needed.
They're getting ready to do a similar neighborhood right on Hazeldale, just adjacent to the Midland Trace Trail.
Crazy.
So it's coming in.
I'm surprised with courtyards just because it's one of the most needed things in Carmel because we didn't have anything like it, and I didn't think that was enough land to pull that off. Honestly.
Oh well, I was driving back there again when it was completely just ground because I knew I would move in there when I heard it was coming, and I think they had 147. And I thought maybe 60 could fit.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's like going into an empty house. It just looks smaller or larger, whatever everybody says. That neighborhood had 147 homes, and I don't know how they.
And it looks great.
Yeah, we're not crowded.
How do you think this project, or like just with the growth in general, how do you think that merges you with Cicero? Like where Cicero and I mean, I'm asking you to project a little bit here, right? Because like Fisher's then kind of just
Fortville,
grew, and
McCordsville,
Carmel, and now McCordsville, right? And now you got like over with Westfield, you've got Sheridan growing, and you've got Whitestown and Lebanon, right? So. What do you think that does as you start bumping up into Cicero? Because Cicero's going to see a benefit from that project.
They are going to see a benefit, and I think Cicero, the leadership of Cicero, has been great in terms of kind of holding to their standards, what they want to be. They are a
great schools up there.
Great schools. Hamilton Heights school system. Dr. Airwood is a phenomenal superintendent. But they also know they're going to have to grow. They have to grow to sustain themselves. And Dr. Airwood would tell you that too, just in terms of a per pupil funding formula. You need to have more students, and that's why you're actually having students that Noblesville that. Hamilton Heights allows folks to opt into Hamilton Heights School District out of Cicero. So we have some Noblesville residents that take their kids to Heights for whatever reason. Sometimes they want a smaller class size. Sometimes they want more of a rural community.
Well, if you live up there too, it's just kind of
make sense. So I think, but I still think you have a pretty clear divide there with the reservoir. There's not just a natural flow into Cicero. I think their downtown is one of the most unique ones because you have the lake abutting it. You have some great restaurants in that downtown area.
It's one of my favorites because it reminds me of an 80s movie.
Yeah.
Because it's got the pizza place. It's got the little
you got Alexander's right there. You had some incredible
Italian
opportunities.
Place. You got ice cream.
But
People
Cicero
are driving golf
was
carts.
way out there,
yes,
too. Because I had friends live in Cicero, and I remember driving up there like we might as well have gone to Illinois or something.
So, and I think that's where a lot of these infrastructure projects with 37, with Keystone, with 31, you're making those northern communities not as far away anymore.
Accessible.
You don't feel like you're in Fort Wayne.
Well,
31 made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I know Westfield was like 30. I think they used to say 30 to 35 minutes to 465, and now it's like 10.
Well, can you imagine like when you were growing up in Noblesville and they're like, "Hey, we're going to go throw some like $2 and $3 million homes up at 191st and Tomlinson."
Crazy.
You're like, "I'm sorry, we're going to do what?" Like,
to drive through there, it's incredible.
Who can do that?
So I don't know, but you have to have a vision, right? And so even out by where I live, I know that there's 50-year talks, right, of planning and all this stuff, where like Fortville Pike is supposed to be like this second outer loop of 465 and all this stuff. Like, it's already been thought out and planned.
You have to plan for it. And, I don't think people appreciate. You have to be able to flush toilets. You have to be able to run water, electricity, and that takes time.
Yeah, you don't just come up with it tomorrow. Like, this is what we're going to do. What other ones do you have coming on?
So if you look out on the far east side, speaking of flushing toilets, when we took office 5 years ago, you couldn't flush a toilet east of Bowden Road in Noblesville. So Bowden Road is where Finch Creek Fieldhouse Mojo is. We didn't have a sewer agreement in place out there, and we were able to work with HSE Utilities to put a sewer agreement in place, which is all non-sexy municipal stuff. But once we got that sewer agreement, and then honestly, we were able to use some of our ARPA dollars that came through the federal government for COVID to put new pipe in the ground to open up developable land. So now we have a new Del Webb community out there at Finch Creek. That's not just a Del Webb, not just a 55 and better, but also sections that have single family. There is some mixed market rate mixed use out there as well. So that's coming online, and that's upwards of like 1,500 home sites out there, which is going to blow up that area. There are also new roundabouts coming on Bowden Road. So because people always want to ask, what's the road situation going to look like? And then we're probably on the 5-yard line of a major custom home development off of Oleo Road in 146th Street.
Back there to the right, back by IU and all that.
Right is relative. Which direction am I driving?
East.
So on the west side of 69, north of where the new Pacers Arena is going, right up Oleo Road.
Yeah.
There's about 2,000 acres that a gentleman named Steve Hinkey has under control. Mm-hmm. And he developed Chatham and Holiday Farms and Bridgewater. So this is his next project. And we are close to getting that formally announced.
So it's going to be a nice one.
It'll be nice. Yeah. It's going to be great. And
so back to the golf club memberships that we were talking about with Make My Move.
Yeah, right. We don't throw those in there. Yeah, we stick to the municipal courses. So so we're excited. We have it on all, and then back on the west side of Noblesville, if you go up Little Chicago Road and 38, the Timbers, which is a Lennar project, is well underway. They're building homes left and right, and Lennar has taken a different strategy where they tend to build them and sell them after they build them. Yeah, interesting. Mm-hmm. But they have like 100 homes under construction right there. So we have it on all 4 corners of our city, new neighborhoods coming online.
Well, and so like when we do these stats, so it's interesting because Noblesville is not that much further. It's a little bit more affordable. Yep. And everybody wants to complain about Fishers or Carmel and the pricing. I was like, you're still in Hamilton County. You get the benefits of everything. It's actually, I don't know. Like I love the school system. I love the feel. I love the cultural aspect of the small town. Like I think it puts you guys in a really good position over the next 15, 20 years. And that's the thankless part of your job is that in 20 years, everybody's just going to live in it's kind of what Brainerd dealt with at a certain point that, your vision is so much longer and deeper than what most people are accustomed to because, we just try to get through every day or every year.
How can you help me right now?
Yeah,
right?
100%.
What are you doing for me right now?
Yeah, grocery prices are high. Yeah. Why are you dealing with this, right? Well, I'm trying to help that, right? But this is just a massive thing to get moving. And so I'm sure you catch a lot of flack about that because, like, you do have to be a visionary to do that.
All you have to do is go next door.
Yes, there's also lovely comments.
Do you listen to that?
So I got off next door this summer, rabbit hole. But next door is like the work of the devil, in my opinion. There ended up being
like Reddit for a community, basically.
Basically, and there was a whole comment section this summer about it turned into. There's a bridge that's closed in Noblesville up by the Bruce's old house, Little Chicago Road, that's being reconstructed right now, actually, and it's adding a walking path across it, which will help
connectivity. Getting ready to list the property which is condos right there, right before.
It'll be nice. So there was a comment made this summer by a mother of a high school friend of mine comparing me.
Small town.
Which always gets me because I'm like, I don't mind when random people talk crap about me, but when I know them, I'm like, come on. It compared me. They were calling me the Chris Christie of Noblesville, which Chris Christie was the former governor of New Jersey who closed down a bridge on purpose and got in trouble for it. Yeah, and so
that seems a bit dramatic.
I'm like, that's kind of clever, but then
you could be having that as a Halloween costume,
right? Well, and Chris Christie, if you've ever seen Chris Christie, is a large man, and so then it turned into this whole comparing Chris Jensen's weight to Chris Christie's weight. And then it just kind of got to the point where I was
a big dude.
And that got to the point where I was just like, this is not healthy for me. You know what I mean? I was like, this is I am really triggered by this. So I ended up getting off of next door.
Got a gym membership.
That was a bridge too far, no pun intended. So that I got rid of next door.
But I must say, I just read that they were very happy on next door that bridge is getting ready to open.
It is here in about 6 weeks. It's going to be open. It was supposed to be open by Thanksgiving. There was some delays with utilities.
So there's some good news.
There's great news. It'll be open by then. And honestly, it'll be much, if you've ever driven up by there, it's funny, I grew up on that side. I was in the harbors.
Yeah.
Me
And so
too.
on early release days from elementary school, we'd ride our bike up the trail and across the bridge to go to Pizza King.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now as an adult with 4 kids, I drive across that bridge. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'd ever let my kids do this. So this bridge will actually have then a walking path attached to it separately from the bridge. So it's kind of the last connector piece around the water that
Was
needs
that
to
from
be
your
done.
childhood? You had to have that walking path?
Yeah, well, exactly.
The trauma.
The trauma from it, exactly right. So it'll be a huge asset for that area of the city, and that's going to be open.
Well,
by
that's
the end of
what's
the year.
nice about you. You do have the background of living
Yeah.
there your whole life.
Yeah.
So you do have some ideas of what you knew wasn't quite working.
Yeah.
And
that
people-
Well, there's a lot of people that tell me like, well, you don't understand. I'm like, well, I probably do. You know what I mean? Like, I might not know how your daily life looks like, but I can, I'm a dad of 4. I drive everywhere I go every single day. I sit in traffic. I get pissed about roads being closed. I mean, we all put our, pants on.
But we're
one at a
talking
time.
about an inconvenience of 8 minutes
Yeah.
to go a little
Yes.
bit further west and then south.
Yeah. I say, I'm like, well, how nice is it? You're going to go try a new road out in Noblesville, maybe see a different part of the city. You know,
And
what I
even
mean?
then, so right there on the north side, right behind it, like they're building another set of those condos.
Yeah, there's some
right there.
condos going in,
Yeah.
which is really
Yeah,
neat.
yeah.
Yeah, my mom was mad because she lives over in the harbors and she had to go out and around to get to Peking Garden, which is a little Asian spot, a
Yeah.
little Chinese spot up there. So I was like,
So you don't have any
That's fine.
special for your family that they get to
no,
get around easier?
the first mother of Noblesville's got to go take the roundabout way to get there too.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So
So I know you talked about the Pacers. So what are some of the new ideas that are coming?
yeah, so just a quick recap on the Pacers. We mentioned it, but the Pacers G League team is relocating to Noblesville. They were in Fort Wayne for a long time, and we're building a new $94 million arena for them out on I-69. It's called the Arena at Innovation Mile. That's the whole master plan site out there where new businesses are coming in as well. So that's under roof now. If you ever drive by there, the parking garage is done. You'll see the arena being built. That'll be done next summer. They'll start playing in that next fall. The name will be changed. They'll be the Noblesville somethings. The Pacers.
Do we get a vote on this?
You don't.
So-
It's already. I can tell you, it's already done. It's already named. The Pacers.
I already don't like it.
The Pacers have a. Well, it's funny because but when we negotiated with them, I wanted to make sure it was the Noblesville somethings. That's important for us because they play in 26 media markets across the country, North America or in Canada and Mexico, and I wanted Noblesville's name ID and branding to be out there. So that was part of the deal. But then I wanted them to name the team because I don't want to get blamed for
Stupid
there's
name.
always people. You're never going to make anybody happy. So they'll announce that name. I think later this month we'll actually have
cool.
a team name announced, and it will be adjacent to the Pacers name.
It's not the Millers.
It's not the Millers. It's not the Millers.
the
no.
Millers and so we're the Artesians. I'm like, could we have like the Tigers?
Right.
Like, can we do
Right,
something
the Artesians.
like? Yeah. What do we do?
But so we're really excited for that. That's going to be just a huge opportunity for us out there. And then we announced some new projects in downtown Noblesville. We have some of our mixed use developments that we announced 5 years ago are now open with Federal Hill Commons and Levinson, and then East Bank, which is the J.C. Hart property right on the river, will be open here
On the east
shortly.
side of it right there.
Yeah, and then we just announced a new project down on South 8th Street as you're heading down towards the Wellingtons. There's a site of the original Noblesville milling site, which is where the Miller's name came from. About 100 years ago, the owner of that donated some dollars to pay for uniforms for the Noblesville High School basketball team, and in exchange asked for naming rights to be the Noblesville Millers. So that's
There's good history.
There's some history for you. So the original site of that is right where the new Pleasant Street project comes into town. So Flaherty and Collins is developing what's called the Granary. Now I thought it was a misprint, but it was any building that stores grain is actually called a granary. Now you know.
Really?
Yes.
More trivia.
Granary. So the granary will be a mixed-use development.
Drop the I.
Well, that's what I was like. I was like, what marketing
Somebody
person
was a
screwed
bad
this
speller.
up? You know what I mean? So the granary will be there. It'll have about 5,000 square feet of retail space right on the Midland Trace Trail.
Yeah.
About 267 market rate apartments there and some parking as well. So that's kind of our first footprint out of the downtown core. We're about a quarter of a mile south of downtown. So we're going to start making our way down that South 8th Street corridor. The Pleasant Street project is now, phase 1 is open. There's a new bridge across the White River in Noblesville, which is awesome. And the Midland Trace Trail is there. So
when you got into this, did you ever think that this is what it would look like? And I don't mean Noblesville. I mean the job.
That's a great question. I don't even know what I thought it would look like, to be honest. And I came from politics. I worked in the Daniels administration. So I've been around it. The politics side of things, I was actually decently comfortable with. I think one thing that I didn't appreciate is that I'm also the CEO of a 500-person organization. There are 500 people that work for the city of Noblesville. There's that whole piece of the house that I did not have a ton of background in.
We're like management company.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're HR. I mean, you're dealing with all the budget, $27 million budget annually. Yeah. So I've learned a lot on that side of things, which I'm glad. I hope that's transferable skills someday that I can go
come sell real estate.
Yeah, do something with that. But the public perception, the politics piece of it, I think is kind of like I thought it'd be. I'm also sometimes surprised by something that I think is not a big deal, the public will lose their mind about. Something that is a big deal, the public doesn't care about.
Could you imagine if every time you got to make a decision that everybody had a choice to answer the question yes or no, and you had to put that out there? Yeah, you'd never get anything.
Well, that's a lot of people get mad about certain projects. Like, well, we want a say in that. We should have a say in that. I'm like, well, you do. Every 4 years at the ballot box, you elect people to make these decisions for you, and you can't make a decision based on 75,000 voters every single. I mean, in terms of like having everything up for a vote. Right. You know, you're elected to lead.
They don't know everything you've gone through and learned and everything to make that
even make
decision.
A correct decision. They don't know how other projects and plans are
how it all plans out.
How does it all fit together?
I used a great example. About a year ago, we announced a project, Bastion Solutions, which is a Toyota subsidiary out of Japan. They're relocating their whole North American headquarters to 146th Street and Promise Road, the southeast corner, building a huge campus there, consolidating all their North American operations.
Isn't that crazy to come right there?
It's awesome. It's a $200 million investment, high wage engineering jobs. Wow. It took us about 18 months to court them to Noblesville. There's a lot of negotiations.
So all those kids that went to Purdue in engineering can
Boom,
go right back
land
home.
Them right there. So we worked forever. And we had this huge announcement, and the public's like, oh, that's cute. Golf clap. That sounds lovely. And then a few weeks later, like Costco announces coming to Noblesville. And people were like, hell yeah! That guy, look at that mayor getting things done. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I didn't do anything for Costco. Yeah. I mean, I think we might have like put a road in for them or something. But nothing. I mean, Costco's going to come based on just households. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you get all the credit in the world for that and nothing.
So is that one of the incentives? You get a Costco member?
Well, we should put that in there. Well, it's hard because we have a BJ's in Noblesville too, so you can't pick a favorite.
Eeny, meeny, miny,
That's right.
Pick
I haven't
one
been to BJ's
get
still.
both. They can have both. They're different. They're different.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I have a Costco membership that I pay for. So, the Costco's pretty.
I do. But there's a whole pumpkin pie. I was just talking.
Oh, $5.99. Well, you're the one who gets all those pumpkin pies, don't you, every year?
Right before Thanksgiving.
Every year.
Well, so there's been pumpkin pie gate this year, and so like they weren't going to do it because there's too many and blah blah blah.
No, they didn't want our business. Tucker has 900 agents. Well, not probably all over the state are doing it, but I don't know how many pies Tucker buys from them, and they said that's too many. We don't.
Our office was like 1,200, and then I'm 300 on top of that, so we were like 1,500 in. But I just found out yesterday that because I went and bought a Sam's Club membership.
Yeah,
just
because they throw that on the line.
Yeah. And then somebody reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, we got you." And I was like, "Hey, all right."
There they are. Come on now.
They showed up. But it was a whole thing because I wanted to keep it in the community. And so I tried to see if somebody local could do it, but it was like $30 a pie. And I'm like, I'm not going to do $10,000 worth of pies. Like, I do run a business. Like, I don't have a problem doing like 3 or 4, but like, what are we doing here? Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's really interesting, like what you have to deal with, what people don't understand. To your point, like what they make a big deal, little deal. Like we deal with that on houses. Like I'll be looking at a house and like somebody's dad comes along and I'm like, I've got radon or like I've got soffit damage, and they're like, there's a crack in the slab in the basement that's like, I mean, it's just like a settling crack. And they're like, this is unacceptable. We need a structural engineer. I'm like, that doesn't even, like, that's a nothing.
It didn't even register.
Yeah, I'm like, the radon's going to kill them in 15 years. Right. Or they're going to have lung cancer, but you're worried about this crack that doesn't even, no builder would even touch it.
Well, I was using an example too. Early on, we changed about a year in. We wanted to go through a whole branding exercise for the city. Our original logo from when I took over was of the county courthouse, which is a pretty detailed logo, and honestly, it was a county building. So I was like, we need to refresh this. Especially as we start building some new bridges and stuff, we want clean, a clean image and a fresh color palette and whatnot. So we went through this whole branding exercise, which a lot of people go through. People lost their ever-loving mind when I changed the logo, and it's this logo right here. It's this little N with the star brick on it, so it's historic. That's the brick that's in downtown, and But people, and we spent $20,000 on this, and people were like, $20,000. I'm like, it's usually like $200,000 to go through a logo refresh, So people, you would have thought I killed every
This
kitten.
is one of my tax dollars.
We were having our 4th child over here at Ascension St. Vincent, and we were in the labor and delivery room, and some lady called me and ripped me for 20 minutes. No, I had my kids at Ascension, and that's my Riverview's a great hospital.
I know, that's where my kids were born.
Wonderful hospital. We're over here, but
my kids were born. That's where my mother-in-law worked.
Oh yes, Sue Bruce was in the institution.
God bless her soul. Yeah.
But there was, I got ripped for 20 minutes while my wife is dilating with an epidural on the phone.
I bet
about
it took
your
a while to
logo?
Yeah, about the logo.
Why'd you answer the phone while your wife is doing this?
Well, you've had kids. It's a lot of sitting around, right?
Like,
it's a lot of sitting around.
But you were supposed to be paying attention to her. Period.
Oh, we were watching some movie. So, anyways, but then
as a guy, I was not super involved with like the actual delivery.
No,
process.
I was there. You know what I mean? I was there. But so people lost their mind about that, and then 2 months later, we pushed forward with a wheel tax in the city of Noblesville. So cities of a certain size can go for an additional wheel tax within the state of Indiana. So $25 a year that we wanted to designate directly to infrastructure improvements, which we have an $800 million 10-year capital plan that's unfunded. So I was like, we need to go make a case for why we need to push forward on this. Yeah. And anytime you do it, any type of new service fee or wheel tax, there's strong opinions about that, right? Yeah. I'm an anti-tax. I'm a small government Republican, but I felt like this was the right thing to do if we can invest it in infrastructure. So logo, people lost their mind. 2 months later, wheel tax, not a peep. 9-0, not a single person.
Nobody cares.
I'm like, that's crazy. You should care about this tax I'm pushing on you. Why aren't you more concerned about this, and you're more concerned about the logo? You know what I mean?
Should have had the high school department do their ideas for the logo, and everybody would think that's so cute.
Well, they would until it's not their kid that got chosen. Trust me.
And then it falls on its face because it's stupid.
Yes. Yes. So.
Well, they talk about that in Carmel with the roundabouts on the artwork. They're like, just have them do it local. Yeah. And then
don't.
Yeah, you can never be.
You want to go have the college students design your house too?
I know.
Yeah. Structural engineer.
Well, interns. They do that at North Central.
Yeah.
I want the intern to be in charge of my taxes.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
So, you just use that example because again, it's just amazing to me sometimes what people do get worked up about and what they don't.
Well, do you have anything else you really want everybody to know about? Because we know you're a busy man and have some things to get to.
I just, I think at the end of the day, I'm just really proud of the community that we've developed. And I think, Kyle, you hit it on the head. We are Indiana's hometown, and I think you're going to see 75,000 hardworking Hoosiers that call Noblesville home every single day and that are open to new people coming to Noblesville. Yeah. And I think that's great. Not, again, there's going to be some strong opinions about it, but I think we know, I say I have the most selfish job in the world. I'm doing my job because I want these 4 cute little kids that I raise every single day to be so obsessed with this community that they never want to leave Noblesville. And in order for that to happen, I have to have the jobs of the future, the houses of the future, the schools of the future, the infrastructure of the future, and we're going to continue investing in that. We're going to be unapologetic about how proud we are.
Yeah, you're vested in your family having a great place to live as well. It's not like you're a single man just like, I don't know, what do we want to do? Throw it at the wall and see what sticks?
When people are like, oh, you're just destroying our city. I'm like, well, why would I do that? It's my hometown too.
Yeah,
I
own property here, just so you know.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is, we deal with it in real estate. You deal with it on a much more massive scale, and so one of the more beneficial things I think you can do is draw everybody back in and like humanize a transaction. And so when fear is involved, it's like meet your neighbors. Yeah. Right? Because when you actually meet other people, it's just different. Yeah. And I still think you are small enough and have, even if you doubled in size, if the culture stays the way the current culture is, I don't think you'll ever have that problem because I think people are willing to meet their neighbors even upon disagreement.
When I think, one of my key factors of being mayor, I always give out my cell phone number.
I know you do. That kills me.
317-509-3134 is my personal cell phone.
That's the reason you're on the phone during
That's right, labor and delivery.
Oh,
and I only have one cell phone. It's that one right there.
That is just amazing.
But I do it intentionally because if you can talk to somebody, if you would spend time either on the phone with them or having a human interaction, you get to, I would say you can disagree with the policy that we may be pushing forward, but I want you to understand how I got to it and respect how we got to it.
We didn't just make it up.
And get out and meet your neighbor and get to know new people and you'll be amazed at the stories that you hear and you'll appreciate the community that you live in.
I had a bad experience at a BZA hearing in Noblesville, and I just got eviscerated. I left with tears in my eyes, man, and we were trying to open over there off of Southeastern, there was a north-facing house, and we were going to put a therapist house into it, and we were trying to get it zoned correctly and all this other stuff. And it was north-facing, didn't feel a part of the neighborhood or anything. And the board was it was in favor of it and everything. And we had remonstrators come out the ass. And they were like, there's going to be EMDR and there's substance abuse. Now, mind you, this was a cash business, which means not insurance, which means people who are well off seeking individualized therapy. And they're like, we don't want these drug addicts in here. And it's just because she offered multiple types of therapy or whatever. And so there was just like this, they're like, there's going to be needles around our kid. I'm like, what are you talking about? But they never got to know what the business even was. They never got to know us. Like, you don't know what healed people look like. And this was literally just like any kind of therapist you would go anywhere else. I just happened to be in recovery myself. But it had nothing to do with that. And the fear around it on this one circle shut the whole thing down for, honestly, a service that was needed.
And to save other people's lives and help them.
Like it's for people who are getting divorced and they need to talk to it, or their kids experience some kind of trauma and they need to talk to it, or maybe just somebody who's like their dad died and they need to talk about it. Like, that's what this was. And it got turned into something else because they didn't get to know anybody.
They also heard one little piece of information from their neighbor next door, and they ran with that.
Oh, that's for sure. Oh no, there was like one household that
stirred it all up.
Well,
that's how I was telling. I was
like, we thought there would be nobody that showed up because we were kind of told like, there might be, like, we've gotten like 2 emails, so we might have 2 people. No, 100 showed up, and it was like a lynch mob. It was just horrible. And the board was even like, we vote in favor of this, but due to the remonstration, we're gonna deny this.
That's too bad. And like I said, I always encourage any new developer that's coming to town. I'm like, make sure you get that community meeting set. Let people come and see you and get to know you. Get to know them and get to know how they feel and let them learn about you.
And that's the hard part, is like letting somebody know that they can come do that and just have an educated conversation. Just get to know somebody. Don't come and like bring all your like arguments. Like, talk everything through. Like, get reassurances. Or if you can't get them, then make a decision. Right. But people are making decisions and then not showing up. Also, this was a while ago. Anyways, this was like 6 years ago. So it doesn't even
before
matter.
Our time.
He wasn't even there.
Good.
Yeah. So, well, even if he was, he had nothing to do with it.
BZA is completely separate.
Totally separate. Yeah, because I thought about calling you. I was like, well, what's he going to do?
No, BZA is completely separate. I legally, as mayor, can't talk to BZA members.
You're just like, I know somebody. I'm calling him.
Yeah, I would never do that, although I really wanted to. I just knew better. But anyways, but so and that's like when you're talking about like how do you fight some of that stuff. I think you do an amazing job with your cell phone, and you did the mental health stuff. I just think you've done a very good job of being very open, honest, and transparent, and most importantly, available.
Well, I think that vulnerability is so key. I think for me, especially in this gotcha society that we live in today, people want to find something right. And I'm like, listen, I'm a flawed human. Let me tell you all about it. You know what I mean?
That's just that you are a human.
I'm a human, and that's why I started Mental Health Monday. I'm like, let's go talk about our issues, because then my thought is someday someone's going to write a letter or an article about how crazy Chris Jensen is, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, we already know that. You know what I mean? It just lessens it. Take it off the table.
That's why I do.
You talk openly about recovery. You know what I mean? Like, just take it off the table.
Yeah, people
you know
are
what I mean?
like, what about this? And I'm like, like, that's old news.
I've already done it. Come on. I mean, give me something else. You know what I mean?
Well, and I see those things, like I said, written, and I'm like, if you just knew him, like, just call him. 5 minutes talking to you, people will know you are very, you really care.
I do.
And you're a hard person to hate.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
There's a few that found a way, but I do my best.
Because they didn't talk to you or get to know you.
Exactly right.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, as always. This is a lot of fun.
We really definitely want to know the real estate world knows about the Make My Move. Where can we find that?
So makemymove.org. I'm going to double check to make sure I just said that correctly, because I looked it up just a second ago. And then that is where you can, there's a whole section on Noblesville there at that website.
That's the main one.
That's the main one. And then I'm going to get you guys here at the office some brochures that you guys can have out on the desk.
Anybody who wants those, you can reach out to us. We'll have the brochures. We're going to make sure at least our office has them as well, but we'll get those to you if you'd like to get a hold of some.
I mean,
makemymove.com, is the website. And there's a whole section on Noblesville, and I'll get you guys some information here at the office for you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And send it. I mean, it doesn't work for you, so send it to all your friends and family members that are looking to move here to be closer to family.
That's right.
Well, it's something good to know. It's just another something for you as a real estate agent to offer a, way of moving here.
And we have employers and CEOs here, and they need to know. So, we can get into the stats. I mean, we've gone. our intent here was to have you on and talk more about Noblesville. Like that's really what this one was about more than anything. I mean, for me, we're
How was Noblesville last 7 days?
I mean, shoot, I didn't really want to super dive into it and bore Mayor Jensen.
No, bore away.
I mean, we're holding steady. I mean, that's just all there is to it. We're like 182 on the market. 22 went on in the past 17 days. 18 are still active. Only 4 pended.
Wow.
22 total pended. So, like, it's just a net wash. Average days on market is 41. But here's the thing. Like, this is why it's hard to talk about the stats this week, in my opinion. I had Halloween, Taylor Swift, and an election. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really... It's
such a lot of faith in that.
Yeah.
When you put all that together, my stats are fabulous. They're crazy.
Well, I love
that
my
you
stats.
just said all that.
Why are you knocking my stats? My stats are fine.
I'm
what
just
do you mean?
saying
They're not
the amount of
fabulous?
houses that sold.
Dude, Fisher's is just 33 went on the market, 32 pended, 28 are still on the market, 5 sold. Average days on market is 39, so they're basically the same as Noblesville. There's a little bit more on the market, 205, which honestly, between the sizes, I like Noblesville's situation better. But I'm out here in the market. I've got clients looking. If you are $400,000 to $500,000 in Fishers right now,
thank you.
You are a dime a dozen,
and
you are sitting. And like, if you are absolutely perfect, you are gone in a weekend.
Right.
And if you need the slightest update, if your carpet is slightly worn, you are sitting, and you are sitting with the other 30 with you because they are everywhere right now.
That's true, because I have buyers in that price point, and they come on, they come on, they come on.
That's why we said last week condition matters so much.
Oh, big time. That price point especially, we both know. And when a new one hits, I get my people in within like a couple of hours to see it, like the new nice shiny penny that it looks like.
Yeah, it's going to be going.
So it is interesting. It's a different market. 22, 21, you could just put it on the market.
I just want to get through the election so people start to feel normal. I think, I do have a lot of buyers looking, which means, there's interest out there. But people have time. They have the luxury of going back and looking multiple times.
Just made an offer this weekend that they went through it 3 times over a week.
Really?
I was so nervous.
I've got contingent offers for day. Like, we're just,
I know.
Things are just great. I love it.
Yeah.
I love everything about it.
It's
So
helping
my
buyers.
stats are fabulous, contrary to Shelly Walters' opinion.
I was just saying the amount you said that sold, because, Carmel, 33 hit.
Pended. I didn't look at sold.
No, I meant pended, sorry.
Okay.
Active in Carmel, 33 hit the market, 12 of those pended, but 27 total pended last week, which I thought was a lot. And then 21 days on market average and 12 median for this past 7 days. Active on the market right now in Carmel, 144. Sold in the past 30 days, 111. List to sale ratio is at 98% right now, and days on market for past 30 days is 21 and 6. So they are average, still staying the same for the past 30 days up to last week. Westfield 43 hit the market. 13 of those were new builds. And I always love to talk about the new builds in Westfield, is what their stats look like. 16 of them pended in Westfield, 41 total pended, so almost a wash there. Of the 41 that pended, 19 of those were new builds, and so that would be 50% of what pended last week. Average days on market was 29 and median 14 for the past 7 days. Currently 233 houses on the market in Westfield. We always have so many there. 117 of those are new builds, so not as many resales out there. And that's one thing I have to say for Westfield. That 3 times we looked, they were looking at a 2022 and deciding if they should build.
Yeah.
And that's the major problem that Westfield's having. Anything at 20, 21, 22, 23.
It makes it difficult
It's
to comp
hard. It's hard to sell too, because they have the ability to just go buy the spec that's sitting there. Because as you see, we have so many new builds that are active. I have 117 I could pick from. If the price points are different. But 105 sold in the past 30 days. 56 of those were new builds, so 50% of the houses that sold. So only 50 sold in Westfield that were resales. 52. So this is where I looked at the average days on market of those sales. I finally broke them out. So it was 40 and 14, 40 average and 14 median for the average days on market for the solds. But then I pulled it out and got rid of all the new builds. The average days on market in Westfield for the past 30 days is actually 27 and 11 median. So we really need to get rid of the new builds, because some of them were like 800 days on market, but that's just, they just set up nothing in the ground for 300 days or whatever. The average days on market for new builds was 52, median was 18. So it's a big difference. Realtors, if you're doing your stats, get rid of the new builds. That'll make a big difference when you're trying to tell your seller what you think the stats are going to be like. Zionsville 8 hit the market, 3 pended of those, a total of 10, so they lost some growth there. 65 are currently active, 33 sold in the past 30 days at 97%, and average days on market 31 and 17 median.
Zionsville's really weird lately. I don't know. Like, there's so little going on the market, and it's still sitting a lot. I don't know what to make of what Zionsville's doing right now.
Right.
But Zionsville's such an outlier in the first place of how that market.
Well, you have the village that everybody wants, or you have the surrounding neighborhoods. The village is always, like, I have somebody looking in the village specifically. I mean, you basically have to knock on doors. See if you can get anything
Should have bought
there.
mine over the summer.
I know, she wasn't looking yet.
Dang it. It's out.
And I would have known somebody.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all we have. So thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Sorry for the little delay
No, it's
here,
okay. I like it. It's good to know.
I want to keep having you on. I think it just matters that much. I think it's good for you, obviously, for people to get to listen to you and know you and stuff like that, and have an idea of like what they're dealing with. A lot of agents, they deal with so much, they don't have the ability to know this stuff. I mean, you're talking about when you stepped in here. I mean, you work 24/7. I work 24/7. Because when I clock out as an agent, I clock in as a CEO. And then I also happen to have like a wife, kids, all these other things in recovery. But it's all consuming for me, so I have to find windows to learn things, and that's just hard with the consumption rate. And when they can have you on here, they can just learn, and it helps sell your city.
Any questions that anybody has, I mean, feel free to ever text me along the way. I'm happy to answer. Like I said, I'd rather answer on the fly.
You want to throw that number out again?
317-509-3134. You can hear it straight from the mayor of Noblesville.
That's so cool.
We got any good restaurants coming in?
There's like 3 or 4 coming on downtown Noblesville. There's actually a rooftop bar that's coming in. Bar Ellis will be opening pretty soon. The Courthouse Club is the newest restaurant in downtown Noblesville, right across from Noble Coffee and Tea. There's Bocado, which is a high-end Mexican restaurant going in at Federal Hill that should be open shortly. There's a Thai sushi house coming in at Levinson. So, I mean,
let's go. Can we go on a tour?
Let's go. Next time, we'll just bounce our way across.
Let's have the soft openings. Let's be at all of those.
So there's a lot of new foodie restaurants coming on downtown Noblesville. And
that
we
makes me
invite
really
you all to
happy.
come join us.
We could do the podcast from there.
Yep.
The new restaurant.
That's right.
You know how I am with this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, I appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate it.
You gave your information out. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. My number is 317-649-5122.
I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group. My phone number is 317-201-2601. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. See you next time.
Get out and vote, although by the time you hear this, it's Thursday.
Too late.
Hopefully you did vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.